guys. I wanted to throw my 2 cents out there onto the internet about Aladdin lamps, about whether they're worth it, whether it makes any sense in this day and age when you have rechargeable batteries. In my case, I live in an old cabin for part of the year, and that cabin is basically, it's like a time capsule. It's a museum of life in the late 20s, early 30s. And so when I inherited it, it had 2 of these guys, Aladdin lamps. This one is, I think, Model 12, and there were 2 Model 12s and 1 Model B. And they were in bad shape. I had to completely overhaul them. And this is a 3rd Model 12 that I picked up just to have at home back in civilization when I have to be here. Because they're good to have. If the power goes out, they're definitely a great source of light. And I do have some major issues with them. I mean, if you have them, you have to consider a bunch of things about them. Your fuel is going to run out at some point, obviously, like everything will, but unless you have the land to have some massive storage tank for, I mean, one nice thing is it runs on kerosene, diesel fuel, jet fuel. If you can access all of those things at any given time, that's great. I'm kind of transient, so I live in an apartment, and it's hard for me to store tons of kerosene, outside of like a couple of 5-gallon jugs. So that's not so great, but there are much more serious issues about them. The first thing is that when they're lit, I have found on more than one of mine, and I've done a lot of research, so it could be that I'm really stupid or I have really bad luck, but when I'm running these things on high, inevitably you're going to get these little flames that shoot out. You'll get a little high flame that will come up because the wick is imperfect. The wick is imperfect out of the box. I've never been able to make the wick true. I bought the wick trimmer, which made it far worse. I don't understand the wick trimmer's point whatsoever. What you're doing is you're just gently, supposedly, edging off any little frays, but what it's really doing is just rubbing it and creating these frays that are so small you can't see them with your eye, but when you light it, you'll see these little high points. And nothing that I've ever been able to do does anything but worsen it with a wick trimmer. Out of the box, again, those aren't perfect either. So you're going to have high points. Just the whole flame itself is going to be all wavy. And chances are, when you crank that wick up until when it's at its full brightness, you're going to get 1 or 2 that like to shoot up into the mantle. I'm not going to get into what all the parts are and what they do. You probably already know, or if you don't, you could find it elsewhere. But the wick will the flame will come up into the mantle, and that will start blackening points in the mantle, and that's not good. You don't want that. And furthermore, you're going to end up with smoke and stuff like that. That leads you to obviously dial down the flame until you get it to a point in which those high points, they're still high points, but they're not burning into the mantle. But now you've significantly reduced your lighting power. So that kind of sucks. And again, I've watched every video that there is online about trimming wicks. Maybe I'm just not that anal retentive. I cannot achieve it, ever. I've bought multiple wicks from Aladdin. Plunked them in, perfectly lit them up, fired it up, high points. So that kind of sucks. It's just really irritating. The other thing is, and I bought one of these heat heat protectors, the volume of heat that is coming out of this chimney is remarkable. It's unbelievably hot. And I live in a, like I said, log cabin, 100 years old this year. It's like a box of matches. So there's some low parts of the roof. I just prefer having a heat cap on it. I also have a lot of bugs. Like in the summertime, I'll get moths that'll come through little parts of the screen and stuff that end up getting attracted to the light. I just figured like fewer bugs dying and dropping down into this. So I like to have this on. However, and I know that this happens with the heat cap or not, by the way. I'll be burning this, and they say don't leave the room. Well, this lamp is on. Take that seriously. I have ran these because it's just good to run them. I've certainly run them when the power goes out, which it does quite a lot up there. It's very unstable electricity. But I run these things quite a bit just to exercise them. They say it's good to just use them. I'm a full believer in that. In general, across the board. But I will end up getting a flame. This just kind of thin flame that develops. I don't know how. I've never actually seen it while it was happening. But there's a flame that will just develop in the entire chamber. And to the point that it's hitting this heat cap. And obviously when I see that, I run at it, crank it off, it's boiling hot, you can't touch it. Grab an oven mitt, get this thing, well, take this off and try and blow it out. Half the time it's a big problem just to even get this thing extinguished. Kind of sucks. It's great when the power goes out and you can make it work. But in general, using this on a daily basis, I don't find practical. A lot of people say they don't like the smell of it. I don't care. I don't care about the health concerns. I'm old. I'm going to die soon enough anyway. I've done horrible things to myself. Kerosene lamps are not my main issue. Frankly, I kind of like the smell of kerosene. They remind me of when I was a kid when these things used to actually run before they were just left dormant and fell apart. Kerosene is cheapish. I mean, it's $5 a gallon, maybe $6 a gallon now. If you buy that clear stuff that they sell at Home Depot, that's cray. That's like $25 a gallon, if not more now. And I mean, it's kerosene. It just doesn't have that odor to it. Regular kerosene doesn't smell that much. I mean, occasionally I'll get a whiff of it when these things are off and I happen to be walking by and I kind of catch the scent of kerosene. It reminds me of old times, no problem. Again, you can run it on diesel, and hey, if you live near an airport, it will run on jet fuel too. Don't quote me on that, but that's what I've heard. Anyway, all of this raises the question, why do I have it? Why do I keep it if it's such a pain in the neck? For one thing, it's nostalgic. It looks good. It fits in with the home that I'm in. And so for this nostalgic reason, I'm trying to, I don't know, keep it alive. And so I do use it. And actually, there is a part of me that sort of enjoys that it's a pain in the neck and there's problem solving involved. I like problem solving on a much larger level generally. This one's more kind of just annoying, but there's always something to do. When you live in a cabin on an island, you really want sort of everything in your daily life to be the thing that exercises your brain. So trying to, figure out this lamp and get it to work so it's burning, it's not flaming out on the top, and it's not burning holes in the mantle, and you get it just right and make yourself a grilled cheese and read a book and life is good. So anyway, I kind of like it for that reason. However, there's a really great alternative which I also have organized not only here for myself. in this apartment when the lake is frozen, but I also have a setup, same gear, up at the island. And it's pretty sustainable. So forgive me and forgive all of my videos. They all are technically awful. I don't care. I'm not really into glitzy videos. I think this video, if I'm looking at the screen, is tilted. Anyway, I'll grab that camera and I'll just quickly show the other option to get rid of things like this, or if you're thinking about issues like in this insanely unstable world right now, things like the infrastructure being hit, going out for a variety of reasons. I mean, number one, the reason why we connected our entire infrastructure here, our power grid, it's open and connected to the internet, is the definition of stupidity. It will definitely come back to kick us in the ass at some point. Doesn't need to be that way. It could be closed. Remember, kids, we all had all of this stuff before the internet, and it worked. So we don't need our power grids connected to an internet which is wide open to Russian, Chinese hackers. This is like just, yeah. So I fear that in this unstable world, and but I also fear power going out here, which it does, at least a few times a year. And I like to go to bed watching old TV shows on DVDs, and I know that I can have a light on, I can watch TV when the power goes out with, hold on. Okay. With these and with that 200 watt solar panel, I've got two 125 amp hour VMAX AGM batteries, which I highly recommend. Great company out of Detroit area. You can get them on the phone. They'll actually talk to you. The other one is from Renogy, which is 100 amp hour. It pretty much sucks, but well, for big loads, but it's absolutely fine for running your light all night, charging your telephone, charging your computer, whatever, light load. I have a 700 watt power inverter for light loads, including the television. If I want to run the refrigerator, I happen to have a 3,500 watt inverter as well. But yeah, so I can power the fridge for at least a few days by turning it on, turning it off kind of thing, just kind of cycling it, let it run through, get cold, and probably unplug it for a couple of hours and then plug it back in, kind of play that game, and I could run my fridge for days. These batteries do charge up. I've got two of these 200 amp hours, and they charge up on a good sunny day. I get these things back up and running pretty much to max. So exhaust your power at night and recharge during the day. It's pretty good. And it powers a 65-inch TV just fine. Running with an all-region DVD player and a backup just in case. Anyway, yeah, I hit the end button on that. Anyway, in conclusion, if you're out there looking for lighting sources and you're thinking, well, let's go old school, I applaud you. I think they're really super cool. They're a great idea. They sold them up to well into the 50s, early 60s, when a lot of rural communities were not on a power grid yet. And so they did some really great lighting for a lot of the population. God bless them. They went out of fashion big time after that. And you can pick them up. They're pretty expensive now. What I did with this one was I bought a bunch of busted ones and Frankensteined them all together. But yeah, you can pick up, and they make a lot of the parts you could still get.